I'm Dave, founder of Hollywood Yarn, and today I'm talking about the 2015 meta slasher film, The Final Girls, a movie that I saw for the first time about 9-ish years ago. I didn't see it in theaters, but this was back in the days when Netflix used to have discs they would send you in the mail, and I used to get them and used it to watch everything. It didn't matter if they had it on streaming or not because they had just about everything on disc. So I would like compulsively go through all the new releases, including the indie new releases, the lesser known movies that most people didn't know about. And that's how I stumbled upon The Final Girls, a movie that kind of instantly connected with me because at the time I was frequenting the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. That's sort of in my area. I'm not too far from there. For those fans of The Blob, that's where they film The Blob. That's where everyone comes running out at the end. Every year, they do Blob Fest, which is a lot of fun. And I always go there because they play like classic movies. They play classic horror movies. I've even met Joe Bob Briggs there a couple times because he's done shows there. And just the concept of like these people going to this, you know, screening of a classic horror movie at an old looking theater, I immediately identified with like, oh, that's me. And I connected with it. But in the 10 years since this came out, it's one that I don't think gets as much attention as other movies like it. And I think it deserves more attention. When you have your meta slasher movies, you have your mainstream hits, your Wes Craven's New Nightmare, your Scream. You have your more indie favorites like Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, or in more recent years, In a Violent Nature. But I think what really separates The Final Girls is not only is it a meta slasher that takes a very literal approach to going into the movie, but it kind of captures this poignant feeling of like what it means to be a horror fan and what it means like to kind of pass down your love of horror. For those who are unfamiliar, The Final Girls follows teenager Max, played by Taissa Farmiga, who has a famous actress mother, played by Malin Ackerman, who tragically passes away in the opening scene. Spoilers, but it's literally like in the opening, and the whole movie's about the fact that she's dead. Couple years later, she and a group of friends go to a screening of a classic slasher movie that her mother was in, and they get sucked into the movie itself, and they interact not with her mother as a person, but her character along with the other characters, and hilarity ensues as the real world characters are familiar with the tropes and the movie itself while they try to survive the movie. I think what sets this apart, though, from other slasher or meta slasher movies, I should say, is that The Final Girls kind of takes the most literal approach, whereas other meta slashers, they wink at the audience, they reference the movies. This one literally it throws them into it. Like they so much so that like they can see the credits scrolling. And like when it goes to the flashback scene of the slasher movie that they're in, everything turns black and white around them. And I think that's such a fascinating, almost multiverse of madness esque approach to doing a meta slasher movie where instead of referencing the movie, they're literally going into it. The slasher they're in, of course, Camp Blood, is an easy stand in for things like The Burning, Sleepaway Camp, any with this guy. And I think it works as just a placeholder of this is a generic camp slasher movie, but they're exploring the tropes by literally going into it. And here's the thing, most other meta slashers that do this, you have some that kind of break the fourth wall a little bit, like wink, wink, we know it's a movie. I know Scary Movie does that. That's really more parody than meta, but whatever. I like that this one, it never has to break the fourth wall because it's like the fourth wall of the movie within the movie is being broken for the characters in it. And I think that's just a fascinating approach to take. I also just I love the setting. I love it's bright and colorful. The slasher movie they're in is obviously meant to be like early 1980s, that kind of golden era of the slasher boom. But I love that unlike other things that are 80s set, it doesn't really need to, like, jam anything down your throat with references. It has the vibe. But I wouldn't be sitting here talking about this. I wouldn't be doing a whole video on this movie if it wasn't one that had stuck with me all these years, and if it wasn't one that has become kind of a comfort movie for me. And I think the reason I thought long and hard, why do I find such comfort in this movie? Is it the mother-daughter relationship between Taissa Farmiga and Malin Ackerman that's really poignant and sweet? Partially. Is it the fact that when this movie came out, I had a huge crush on Nina Dobrev, who, if you remember from Vampire Diaries, you know what I'm talking about. And I was just so excited to see her in the movie. Maybe. There's a lot of things that I really enjoy about it and that kind of on a surface level I like, but that's not why this movie is comfort food to me. I think the reason it stuck with me is in the way that the movie is essentially about our main character Max connecting with her mother and kind of getting the closure and goodbye she never got to have by connecting with her character from this old slasher movie she did 20 odd years earlier. And I think that you can it almost captures the idea of what it means where like a movie means something to you and you can love a movie not even because of anything in the movie, but because of what it represents. How many of us have like a favorite movie that we watched with, that relative who's no longer with us, or that we were introduced to at a certain age, and it brings back fond memories, and you're like, oh, I remember watching this as a kid. I remember this. In I think the Final Girls, in the way that Max reconnects with her mother, or at least her mother's character, it captures that idea of, like, what movies mean to us, and I think it's that on a much deeper emotional level that I've just always found such comfort in it. This is a movie that I could put on anytime and just watch it all the way through and just walk away feeling really good. Yes, it is enormously helped by the inclusion of Betty Davis eyes at the end, which I know is more so associated with the movie Maxine. Now, for me, when I hear that song, I will always go to this movie first. But it captures the idea of what it means to connect with film itself, and what it means to kind of, well, this was something that my parents were into, my older sibling was into, my whatever was into, and it's important to me to have it now. And I think that's why a movie that is as admittedly silly as this, I mean, you have one of the the camp counselors in the movie are intentionally poorly written because they're supposed to be stock slasher characters, where you have one who literally is just trying to rip her clothes off the entire time. She never does. It's PG-13. Calm down. Yes, I know it could have easily been R-rated. I don't think it would have made that big a difference if you had had more blood. The point of it is more so the humor and the character moments than necessarily like blood and guts. But I digress. There's a reason that a movie this silly sticks with me so much, and I may be the only one. Maybe I'm just going on a crazy rant about why this movie means so much to me. But again, at what this movie strikes at the heart of, this movie means something to me, and it's my comfort food. And I'm willing to bet that everyone watching right now, even if you've never seen this movie, or if this movie is not your comfort food, you have a movie like this that connects with you on some level that you can't quite put into words, even if you try to do a rambling YouTube video about it in honor of the movie's 10th anniversary, and you're getting to the end and you're wondering if anyone is still watching, which, if you are, I thank you. But I'm willing to bet all of you have a movie that is like that to you, and that's what this movie is and always will be to me. But hey, these are just my thoughts. These are just my ramblings. This is just my channel. If you don't like it, get your own. I'm kidding. Watch mine. Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you may end up trapped in an old 80s slasher movie, unable to get out, playing at 90-minute intervals. And then, even when you do, you end up in the sequel for a sequel to this meta movie that still hasn't happened. But fingers crossed. And as always, Every day is Halloween.